Hi, welcome back to Movie Review Mom. Today, the movie I'm reviewing is Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw. Woo! This movie is rated PG-13. It's 2 hours and 15 minutes, which is pretty long. However, that's about the same length as several of the other Fast and Furious movies. And the Movie Review Mom grade that I gave it is a B plus, and I'll tell you why. But first, in a quick nutshell, this adrenaline-packed action comedy is extremely entertaining. I have four sons who would really get a kick out of this movie. Even when they were really little, I think that they would love it. If you're a Dwayne Johnson or Jason Statham fan, like I am, big time, you're going to love this fun flick. Directed by David Leitch, or maybe it's Leach. I don't know how to pronounce his name. This movie is exactly what it promises. Two macho men with tons of crazy action sequences and some beautiful, deadly women. Director David Leitch was a stuntman in John Wick and Atomic Blonde, so he knows how to do stunts and film them as well. If you like the trailer, you'll like this movie. I attended a screening in a theater in Utah where I recently attended a wedding for my niece. And it had this really cool way to showcase some scenes from the movie. So there were these two chairs rigged up to these rumbling seats that reacted to the action sequences on this little screen, kind of in this little kiosk in the lobby of the theater. That's how the movie feels. Most people agree the movie is pretty ridiculous, but admit that that doesn't mean it's not fun. So some quick tips for parents, and then I'll tell you some themes and some things I liked and didn't like. So there is a lot of violence with a high body count. However, there's some blood, but not like bloody, gory, or anything like Quentin Tarantino at all. There are some sexy women showing lots of skin and some cleavage. There's some profanity, including one F-bomb, two, if you count it that way, because both Hobbs and Shaw say it at the same time. Then there's some times where they mouth the word, but you don't hear anything. And then they start to say it, but then they don't finish it. There's some crime. There's some quite a bit of suggestive language referring to body parts of men and women and some sexual relations, or just mention of it. You don't see stuff other than kissing. There's some bare-chested men. Some Samoan is spoken without subtitles. Some kissing. I mentioned that. Some men are tortured with electric shocks. Lots of explosions and destruction, some name calling, and in fact, it's that banter between Hobbs and Shaw that's so entertaining, actually. And then alcohol and mention of drugs. And by the way, I'm wearing my little Polynesian muumuu because you get to go to Samoa during part of the movie, the second half of the movie, or the third act, I guess I should say, of the movie. And I am such a huge fan of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And so I love it when he gets to really cherish and honor his heritage, like he did in Moana, that movie. And you get to see him speaking Samoan and doing the dance, and I can't do it anyway. So that's why I'm dressed like this. All right, so some themes are, like all of the Fast and Furious movies in that franchise, the theme of this movie is also the importance of family. And they take it from two different angles, which I really appreciate. There's tons of action and all that kind of stuff, and not a huge, deep plot, but they do throw in the element of family. And I think that carries on the legacy. Technically, this is a spin-off of the Fast and Furious, but I love that they've carried that little thread throughout the franchise. There are some lines that represent some other themes of the movie. For example, Shaw, played by Jason Statham, says, "It's never over till it's over." And then later he says, "Never, never give up." And that's definitely a theme of the movie, is persistence. He also says, "Remember who you are." And that applies to him and his sister, but it also applies to Dwayne Johnson's character, because he's kind of pushed down his heritage, and then now he's starting to remember, and his daughter's asking questions like, here's my family tree, it's you and me, and that's about all she knows. And so he starts to reconsider what he's done, by cutting off the family. Home and truth obviously are also some themes. Okay, so some things that I really liked. First of all, Dwayne Johnson and Jason Statham have great chemistry together. And they just, like I mentioned before, have this hilarious banter. I always enjoy their over the top action abilities and comedic timing. Now, some of these stunts are ridiculous because they're so over the top, but I think that's actually kind of funny. It makes me laugh because they're both so big and strong and competent, and yet they do this, unhuman type of actions. Like there's this one scene where The Rock is literally holding these two chains, and one side of the chain is to a helicopter, and the other side the other chain holds onto this truck that's got a chain of other cars holding on to it, and he's holding on to them, which is hysterical and awesome just because I love him. Anyway, the supporting cast is also fantastic. Idris Elba is amazing, and he actually does play this like superhuman guy, and he's just great. Vanessa Kirby, I loved her in The Crown, and she's really believable as a little stunt woman, and she's just great. I really like her. Helen Mirren, come on, she's a national treasure. Ryan Reynolds and Kevin Hart. Now, you might not have known that they were in this movie. They play a couple of fun little cameos, and it's awesome. They basically play their same characters that they always play, but it was just kind of a nice touch. Dwayne Johnson's actual cousin, Joe Anoa'i, plays his brother in the movie. He performs his signature wrestling moves, the Samoan drop and the spear, during a little fight scene. And I got a real kick out of the wake up sequence with Hobbs and Shaw, because it kind of shows their lives doing similar things, waking up, the alarm clock, and what they drink, what they drive, how they shower. Actually, I can't remember if there was a shower scene or not, but anyway, and really the whole movie kind of shows that parallel in the difference of their styles, which I found to be really entertaining. And I didn't know that the whole movie was going to kind of keep comparing their styles. Anyway, it worked. Lots of impressive and funny fight sequences with those guys. And kudos to the stunt team. Wow, lots of humor and some funny references, pop culture, Easter eggs. Fans of the franchise will recognize a few running threads that just sort of give a nod of respect to the franchise. And now, speaking of the franchise, you don't need to have seen any of the former Fast and Furious movies to really understand what's going on or even to really enjoy it. It really does work as a standalone movie, which I appreciated. This is actually their 8th movie in the series. If you've seen the prior ones, you'll just go, okay, well, this is sort of the same, but a little different. And in fact, Jason Statham's character actually has a little character shift from what it was in a prior movie. No big deal. And if you haven't seen any of them, you could, like I said, you can still enjoy this one. The soundtrack hits hard, just like the stars of this movie. And the movie is very self-aware, which makes it even more humorous, I think. Now, a few things that I didn't like is that some people will say that this movie is filled with toxic masculinity. That's sort of the buzz phrase these days. And it is. If overcharged testosterone bothers you, do not watch this movie. These are two hunky, big, strong, macho men. And so you might be offended. A couple of interesting lines are actually when Hobbs quotes Bruce Lee, who says, "The key to immortality is living a life worth remembering." And you may believe in machines, but we believe in people. And I really liked those messages as well. The movie is exactly what you think it's going to be. And if that sounds good to you, you're going to have a great time. And if you look at the trailer and you go, that looks ridiculous, then just pass. I actually really enjoyed it, as you can tell. Anyway, be sure and subscribe. Hit the subscribe button, the like button, ring the bell. You know the drill. And be sure to check out my Movie Review Mom website where you can read more of my review and quotes and things like that. I've got a contest coming up here pretty soon. And also visit our new Facebook group where you can meet other movie